Hello, howdy, happy New Year's. It's January 1. I'm filming a video. To be fair, I filmed a whole bookshelf tour with all the books. Hated it. Did not like it. Thought it was boring and long. Deleted it. Then I filmed a different video about like the books that changed me as a reader. I don't think I'm gonna post that one either. I don't think I like that one either. So I'm going to do, this is my plan, right? I'm gonna do bookshelf tour in pieces, and I'm just gonna split it up into 4 parts. Parts 1 through 3 will be the different shelves here, and part 4 will be the communal bookshelf in my living room. So that's it. That's what the plan is. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, here we are. This is gonna be very difficult because I wanna make sure everything is in frame. But if I keep looking at you, it'll make things difficult. So I'm just gonna pretend you're my best friend and I'm telling you about my shelf. I will show the knickknacks. First off, painting done by a family friend. I'll put that down here for now. Another incense holder, very cute. Currently is a Match Depot. Is that a thing? It's a garbage can for matches, which I feel like is probably like a gigantic fire hazard. Coke salt bottle. Dragonfly. As a baby, I used to call these helicopter bees. Another candle. It smells good. And lastly, my favorite of my candles, a gift from a friend. This is a Zelensky prayer candle, which he's Jewish. I don't know how he would feel about this. I don't know what his views on this are, but I absolutely love it. And I'm waiting for like a good time to pray. Should I pray with this? What should I do? Should I just like manifest peace? What do I do? I'll put Zelensky up here, where Zelensky belongs. It actually does look good. Oh, and then last but not least, hiding is my sperm. You can see him all elegant, searching for an egg or an ovum, whatever it's called. I got this at the Moore Museum when I was 16, and I had to put him up here because my friend's dog thinks it's a toy and fully stole my sperm once. Okay, and actually into books. Books time. Let's get into books. So this top is like mostly my nonfiction shelf, and I tried to vaguely put it together. Like this is like Russia, Soviet Union, Eastern Europe, then we move into North Korea, then we move into China, Argentina. I have a book about that. And there's some like stuff like economics things. Then it's kind of a free-for-all, but we'll get into that. That was the concept behind this shelf. Starting with, and I said this was my non-fiction shelf, remember. Fairy tales, the most fiction that a thing can fiction. Yeah, very beautiful design. I really would need to read this, but it's kind of makes me sad now. But yeah, very beautiful fairy tales. Then this book, which is about the Romanovs. I've had this for years, and like, to be fair, there's a lot of these books, the reason why they're on here and the reason why I've had them for so long and haven't read them is because I got them when I was starting to become interested in nonfiction, but I hadn't really read nonfiction yet, and I didn't believe it myself. So I have this book by Simeon Sibiag Montefiore. At some point I looked it up and figured out who he was, but I have some beliefs about like the kinds of nonfiction that you should prioritize, like who you should prioritize reading from, and I kind of want to do a video about it. Like, if you're going to read about X place, you should prioritize reading like experts from that country. Then you should prioritize reading like journalists from that country. Then you should prioritize this and this and this, and explain why I think all of that stuff. Because the fact is, like, sometimes experts are like people who just worked in the government of another, like American consulate people in Russia, and it's like, well, those people don't really know anything. Okay, Stalin by Stefan Kotkin. I feel like is what it probably should be. Again, I don't know who this guy is, but it's a big book that says Stalin, and it's only volume 1. So, where could that go? And then this was a gift from a friend, The Unquiet Ghost, Russians Remember Stalin by Adam Hochschild. Oh, and he's the guy who wrote King Leopold's Ghost, which I have on, like, downloaded on my phone. These are 2 books from my undergrad. This one is just Russian vocabulary. And this is it's probably like some people's like dissertation that they turned into a book, and it's Moscow Women, 13 interviews by Carola Hansen and Karen Leiden. And yeah, it's just their interviews and their discussions about their lives and, you know, what they want to talk. A lot of it too focuses on like childcare, on how much money they could spend. Yeah, I never finished this. That is actually a big thing about schools and books for schools. I finished very few of the books that I was supposed to finish for school, to the point where I kind of want to do like a little video series of like books I was supposed to read in school that I never did, and just read like The Great Gatsby. Yeah, so next up, I mentioned this on channel before, Svetlana Alexievich, The Unwomanly Face of War, Belarusian author, and this is about, you know, her interviews with women who served in the Soviet army during World War II. Hammer and Tickle by Ben Lewis, The History of Communism Told Through Jokes. Again, this is a book that I like absolutely want to read, but I just got it when I wasn't reading nonfiction, and it's just, I think it's such a cool concept, and jokes are a great way of being subversive, and so I think it'll, I don't know, it's really cool, and it reminds me of all of the like jokes that my family tells. Communism in Eastern Europe, Teresa Rakowska-Harmstone. This is just someone's textbook that they left in one of those, like, leave a book boxes, and I took it. This is also by Svetlana Alexievich. This is Soviet Voices from the Afghanistan War, Zinky Boys. This is Love in Defiance of Pain, Love in Defiance of Pain, Ukrainian Stories. And there are, you know, it's many authors. This is something I want to prioritize reading kind of early next year. Now this book, actually, I have actually, oh, I probably lost my little spot, but I have it on Goodreads actually. This is a book that I have kind of been reading for years basically, and it is Under the Loving Care of the Fatherly Leader, North Korea and the Kim Dynasty by Bradley K. Martin. And the problem with this book is I believe this guy is a journalist. And yeah, he covered Korea and other parts of Asia as a journalist. So a lot of this reads more like an article. And so it's really hard to get through in one big swoop because he writes like a journalist. And it's just in my opinion, it's just kind of a different talent. And so, yeah, it takes a while. So part of me is like, I should honestly just start from the beginning, because like, a lot of this I've probably already forgotten. Oh, there's my little guy. I've probably already forgotten, but like I'm already halfway through, and if it was a struggle to get there, I don't know if I should start from the beginning. Like maybe I'll just finished it, and then picked it up again, like a decade later. Okay. I need to get a rhythm in this. Take a book out, put the book back in. You know what I mean. Okay, into the China section. Red China Blues by Jan Wang. So Jan Wang was like a communist believer living in Canada, and so I believe she returned to China, like because she valued the ideals, and she was caught there during the Cultural Revolution, and so this is, from what I understand, her I don't know if this is exactly her story, or if it's like her story interwoven with the what was happening and like the history, which I love those. I think those are some of the coolest books, where you have someone telling their story and at the same time you're hearing like the like cultural landscape. I think I love books like that. And so yeah, I mentioned wanting to read more books specifically about China, and so that's where this will be coming in next year, and they're excited. Yeah, and I think books about the Cultural Revolution are very fascinating. Speaking of, I've had this book since I was in middle school. I'm pretty sure I took it from my teacher's classroom. I'm so sorry to whoever that is. This is Red Scarf Girl, A Memory of, oh my Christ on a cracker. Red Scarf Girl, A Memoir of the Cultural Revolution by Ji Li Jiang. Yes. It seems like a scholastic book too. I just don't think I could appreciate, you know, this book when I was a child. But I can appreciate it now. Yep. I'm gonna be reading about her. And the funny thing is, there's a lot of books that like I kind of started and put down. This book, the beginning scenes of it have always just struck me, and I've remembered them. Like, I remember reading the first parts of it and being like, oh, what's going on? But then never finishing it. New Penguin Parallel Text, Short Stories in Chinese. So it's like on one side it'll be in Chinese and on one side it'll be in English. Honestly, my Chinese is so crap now, there's no way I could read this, but by God, I already have the book. This I got, if you've ever been in Philadelphia on South Street, there's like a, I don't know if it's anarchist or communist, maybe it's the two, bookshop on South Street, and I got this book, Rebellion in Patagonia by Osvaldo Bayer from there, translated by Paul Sharkey and Joshua Newhoser. Yep, it's about a strike, which that's what Wigla means. It means strike. Yes. So the point that I'm trying to get to is that this took place before the military dictatorship, but yet was still an example of like military violence towards people seeking rights. So yes, seems very fascinating. Would love to read it. I'm very curious about how like the history of a strike can be this big, which I'm sure it's like absolutely takes this much time, but I'm just kind of, that makes me interested. What's going on here? I've got to get to the bottom of it. The next three books, I mentioned this before, Socialism Seriously, Brief Guide to Human Liberation, Dana Catch. Oh my God, how have I not finished that book? That's so tiny. And then these two, what is it, Penguin Politics books. I have Slavoj Žižek's Like a Thief in Broad Daylight, Power in the Era of Post-Humanity. He writes like, it's insane to follow how he writes. I'm not that smart. But this is him. H. Baumer guy once called him Commie Mark Hamill, and that's never not been my opinion since. I also really want to watch his movies. And Freakonomics by Stephen Day Levitt and Stephen J. Dubner. Just gotta read it. Started it. I think I brought it with me when I was in China. Everyone's read this book. I just need to read it. I want chips and guac so bad right now. I don't get that. I gotta go to the grocery store. This book I got for the memes. I got for the lols, I have to admit, Real Wolfmen, True Encounters in Modern America by Linda S. Godfrey. This is wild. So allegedly there are these creatures that are kind of half wolf, half man, not werewolves. They're like always like that. The moon does nothing to them. And they're wandering around kind of like I'd say like, not a yassified Bigfoot, but like kind of like a sexier Bigfoot. I mean, look, like he's ripped. He's buff. Walking around terrorizing America. Yeah, and it's just kind of hilarious to read like the logic she gives, because it's bad logic. It's like they're always found near bodies of water, but the bodies of water are as varied as like there was a stream next to the guy who saw this, to this happened by a lake, to this happened in this town which is situated near this river. Like, what the heck? I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see in like how cryptozoologists bastardize science, and I don't know. To me, that sounds like a hilarious book. This is My Broken Language, a memoir by Chiara Alegria Hudes, won the Pulitzer Prize. She comes from North Philly, and she, like, it says, weaving together Hudes' love of music with the songs of her family, the lessons of North Philly with those of Yale, this multi-mythic dive into home and marine belonging, narrated by an obsessed girl who fought to become an artist so she could capture the world she loved in all its wild and delicate beauty. I just thought this sounded like such a beautiful story, and like something that is like connected to being like either an immigrant yourself, or like the children of immigrants, or like having this relationship to America that is, you know, distinctly othering. And yeah, I don't know, I just thought this would be something about this like really spoke to me, which obviously means to win another Pulitzer Prize, right? Like, it's clearly spoke to a lot of people. This is another book, like, how have I not finished this book? This is Murakami's like tiny little memoir, what I talk about when I talk about running. Honestly, I started reading this and then I got to the part where he talks about listening to The Loving Spoonful, and I just stopped because I love The Loving Spoonful. That's like the music that me and my dad connected on. It wasn't the Beatles, it was The Loving Spoonful. And so I think when he was like, oh, I listened to them, I was like, oh my god, same girl. And I stopped reading at that point. Prisons Make Us Safer and 20 Other Myths About Mass Incarceration by Victoria Law. This is one of those nonfiction books that I really like how it's structured, where it goes to tell you, this is a thing you might encounter, this is something that might be said to you, and let me give you the information you need to understand why that is not true, and the information you need that when you are in those conversations, you can be a source of information. Yeah, I think any person who's like vaguely informed about the carceral system in the US would, you know, be horrified. And, you know, this is kind of part of my journey to understanding that better. Michael Moss, Salt, Sugar, Fat, How the Food Giants Hooked Us. This is kind of a deep dive into, I think, a lot of the like food engineering that goes behind like fast food, highly processed food, snacks. And I'm hoping it like terrifies me enough to like never picking up a bag of Doritos again, but yeah, that's not gonna happen. Doritos are just good. Yeah. But also I think it'll be interesting to know, like, when you're tasting a food and being like, why does this taste good to me? To understand like where that's coming from. I don't know. I'm curious of the food science. I'm curious of like the kind of conspiracy. Look at my little hair, just kind of like sticking there in the corner. Another one I was supposed to read for college and didn't, even though this is like exactly the kind of book I would totally love. Why couldn't I just read the books that were assigned to me? I don't know. There's a little spot on it. The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down, A Hmong Child, Her American Doctors, and the Collision of Two Cultures by Anne Fadiman. This is such an important book, I think, in like global and public health, in that it describes the, like, I know so much about this book as someone who has not read it. It describes the ways in which, you know, like illness is culturally communicated, illness is culturally defined, and like I think we forget about that because we live in the US, which tries to so much medicalize illness. We forget to look and observe the ways in which we culturally identify illness and how we culturally treat illness. I really want to kind of get back into like my global health roots and start focusing on reading some of these books as well, like books like this, other books that really go into global health and sort of build up the amount of literature that I've read on global health. I've mentioned this before, Deep Survival, Who Lives, Who Dies, and Why by Lawrence Gonzalez. I do like when they put like actual stickers and not just like the fake sticker on the thing. Similar to that, I've also mentioned this, Life Lessons from a Brain Surgeon, Practical Strategies for Peak Health and Performance by Rahul Jundial. Also haven't read it yet. The Sociopath Next Door. This was given to me by a friend. I'm so sorry I haven't read any more of it yet. 1 in 25 ordinary Americans secretly has no conscience and can do anything without feeling guilty. Who is the devil you know? Martha Stout. The reason why I haven't really gone into this is because it feels very sensationalistic and like aggressive towards like people who, for all intents and purposes, like aren't they just neurodivergent? But apparently, my friend who has read this book told me it's not actually that. That's kind of like the marketing for the book. It itself is not that aggressive. Another Mutter Museum pick, Unthinkable: An Extraordinary Journey Through the World's Strangest Brains by Helen Thompson. Yeah, just think, could be cool, could be nice, could be sweet. I wanted to love this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, Myths and Stories of the Wild Woman Archetype by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. But I do not really like her writing style. It feels very like aggressive and preachy to me. But yeah, maybe one day when I'm more calm, I can pick this up again. Bad Feminist Essays by Roxane Gay. This was a birthday gift from a friend, and this is an example of a book that like I know I need to pick back up, but just when it was given to me, I was not very good at reading essays. Like that just wasn't my forte, so I like didn't have the confidence to pick it up because I didn't think I could finish it. But now that I've read like several essay collections, I do think I could, you know, jump into this and have a better reading experience. I do remember, what was it, Scrabble? She reads Scrabble. She plays Scrabble. Yeah, she's like a great Scrabble player. I know that. She's a great Scrabble. She talked about Scrabble. I remember that. I also think Roxane Gay is absolutely hilarious. Like, she's so funny. A Gift from a Friend, A Serious Guide to Joke Writing by Sally Hollow. How to Say Something Funny About Anything. Yeah, I haven't gotten into this, but I need to. It'd be fascinating. Fascinating to like see like comedy dissected like this. So yeah. Actually managed to like edit and upload this. That would be amazing. It'd be great if out of the last 3 videos I filmed, one of them gets uploaded. Okay, well, I hope your New Year's was fun, and this year will bring a lot of fun reading and books and memories. I forgot to mention I'm currently reading The Plague by Camus. Yay!